Welcome to the Liberty Beacon. And for all of you who are not aware what the Liberty Beacon is, it is a project whereby we are getting the word of liberty out. Now, this is not just about politics, it's about any type of tyranny that we all suffer. This could be what some people might consider to be conspiracy theories, chemtrails, vaccines, GMOs, although all of us in the know who have done any research at all don't consider any of these to be theories. They might be conspiracies, but they're conspiracy facts, not conspiracy theories. I have with me, and I will every week, for what we are calling the Liberty Beacon Rant, my co-host from the We the People show, which we did several months ago, and that is Paula Mathers. How are you, Paula?
Hi, I'm doing great. Also, Awake Radio.
And absolutely, this is a cooperation between the Liberty Beacon and your network, and I'm really, really happy to do this because I am of the firm belief that there is no single organization, no matter how big they are, whether it's the Ron Paul movement, whether it's any movement, anything that's part of the Liberty Beacon movement whatsoever, that's going to do this all by themselves. It is by association and cooperation that we're going to build the numbers we need to force this government and any tyranny that faces we the people to wake up and take a look and realize that we're now an unstoppable force. So thank you very much, Paula. I appreciate it. There will be times we will use your venue, as we are tonight, and we will every week. There will be times when we will use the Liberty Beacon venue, but it's the spirit of cooperation that is going to help us accomplish exactly what we need to accomplish.
Exactly.
So, a little bit more about the Liberty Beacon. I'm sure a lot of the people who will be listening to this, a lot of our listeners, I haven't done a podcast show for the Liberty Beacon for almost going on 2 months now. And for all of you who are not aware, I have moved from Rhode Island to Montana. This is Big Sky Country, and I absolutely love it. The thing that totally amazes me, though, is when you live in an area like New England, you can't see more than 100 feet because there's trees everywhere. When you come to Montana, you can see for miles and miles because the only trees that are here are the ones that man has planted. You can go miles and miles and miles and see forever without seeing a tree or maybe one or two across the entire landscape. And it is eerie, but it is eerily beautiful. So I am in Montana. A lot of the situations I was facing that forced me off the network for about 45 to 50 days have evaporated. I really do like Montana, and the Liberty Beacon is booming. As a matter of fact, Paula, I don't know if I made you aware, but the Liberty Beacon is the name also of our flagship website. We have two websites now, and we have another one in the process, and we also have another big surprise, which I'm going to tell you we have a surprise, but I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. We have some surprises coming your way that are really going to make people happy, and they're going to be provide tools to all of you that will allow you to do things that you've been wanting to do but haven't had the mechanisms available to you. And that'll wet your whistle, but no, I won't tell anybody what it is at this point. But a good day for the Liberty Beacon, which is our flagship site, was to get 8 to 10,000 reads. Now, there's a difference between visits to a site and reads to a site. A visit to a site might be somebody who's curious, so they come in and they take a look at your banners and they take a look at your wall and they click on your archive to see what kind of articles you have, but they don't actually read anything. They don't open an article. Those are click-throughs, and we have quite a few of those, but actual reads of articles. And our site actually can tell the difference between a click-through and an actual read of an article, where you click on an article and you read it. You open it up. So if we got 8 to 10,000 of those, now figure it out. We are an alternative source, and we are basically a news site, and we are unsponsored. We don't even have ads on our site at this point, and we're seriously considering what type, if any, ads we're going to put up. But if you get 8 to 10,000 reads a day, that's 300,000 a month on average, and that's very good for an alternative source, alternative media source such as the Liberty Beacon Project. Over the last several days, well, let me give you, for instance, yesterday and today. Yesterday, our reads exceeded 34,000. Today, we're approaching 50,000. Now, if you do the math and project that out over a 30-day period, you can see that the popularity of the Liberty Beacon is spiking. And we have about 5 Facebook pages and a Facebook group, and a lot of our articles, as they're posted there, and also Twitter, get spread out automatically amongst these forums. So the word is getting out at an exponential rate. Our traffic is expanding at an exponential rate. And of course, we're all happy, because if the messages we were putting out on GMOs, on vaccines, on tyranny, on politics, on imperialism, if these messages were not ringing true to the people who count in this liberty movement, then our traffic wouldn't be crap. What do you say to that, Paula?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had to try. I had to do the slippery finger trying to get to my mic button, keeping it mute. I got my little one. He's been vocal for the last, I don't know, 15 minutes. It's like he knows when I'm getting ready to go on air, and he likes to join me.
Of course.
But I say, wow. I mean, you guys who may not have been there, it's the libertybeacon.com. Again, go to Facebook. There's 5 different Facebook sites to hit up, and there's loads of information. I'm always sharing Roger's stuff.
Well, you're part of the Liberty Beacon Project, so it is our stuff. And you know me, I won't take a title. I don't want to be the executive director. I don't want to be the owner. I will accept one title and one title only, and it basically gives me a limited amount of credit for having conceived the idea or the concept of the Liberty Beacon Project. I am the founder, and that is it. We all share in the duties. We all share in the responsibilities equally. We have a new project. We just launched another site called protection.thelibertybeacon. Okay? And that you can just put the www in front of it. Well, that is a site on that pretty much is dedicated to online child pornography and pedophilia. Now, I know that touches a nerve in everybody who's listening.
Wow, yeah.
We have launched a website. It's up and running. It's still being tweaked. We're still adding content and stuff to it. But anybody can go to it. But it's protection.thelibertybeacon.com. Just put the www in front of that, and you've got the address to the site. That is also part of the Liberty Beacon. And like I said, we've got a couple of other big surprises coming along. All of this should have been up and running about 2 months ago. But for those of you who don't know, I was unemployed, and gee, imagine that, somebody being unemployed in America today. And,
join the rest of us.
Yeah, and that put me in an untenable position where I was living. So now I've moved. I've literally purchased my own place. I have a job that is phenomenal. I am actually able to start funding myself some of the projects, because we have a donation button on our flagship site, but we don't ask for donations. If you go in and you see that donate button and you're moved to give us $5, $10, $15, $25, whatever, that's fine. We're never going to ask you for it. We're not going to ask you to pitch in on anything. This has to be something you decide to do yourself, because the vast majority of us in the Liberty Beacon Project are not rich. If we were rich, we would be the people that the Liberty Beacon Project was railing against.
True.
So
we're all broke, yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're all broke, because I can't even consider myself that now. I've got a brand new bank account, money in the bank, and like I said, I have my own place. So, I mean, everything is going well for me, but it's given me a mechanism to fund some of the projects, expand the website, start a new website that we've been wanting to do for a while, and lack of funds and lack of the lack of the want for us to ask anybody for funds has precluded us from doing. But now we're out of that shadow, and we're moving into an era where you're going to see a lot of movement in the Liberty Beacon Project, and we're very proud and very happy with that. As a matter of fact, Paula, this is the first show you and I have done together in almost 2 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it has been a while.
And you are one of my favorite people. As a matter of fact, let me tell the entire audience, initially I was going to do this show by myself. And I called Paula up the other day and I said, Paula, I really want you on that show with me. And you said, why? And I said, because I need to be talking to somebody. If I know there's nobody who can answer me, nobody I'm talking to, then I feel kind of dumb. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror trying to convince myself of something. So if I can bounce my emotions off, and Paula is very good at this. She really is. So I really appreciate the fact that you agreed to be here with us.
Oh, I love it. I love hanging out with you and talking, listening to what you got going on, what you got to say. There's always something to learn. And I have a good time.
Well, I have a friend who made a comment, and I'm probably not going to hit that nail right on the head on exactly what he said, but it was basically something like problems were never solved through silence. In other words, if you don't say something, the problem's never going to go away. So my reply to that was, well, I've never been bashful and I've never been called quiet. So if you want a solution, I can offer you a lot of problems and solutions. Oh, yeah. Bashful is not anywhere in my vocabulary. And as a matter of fact, something else the rest of you might not be aware of is Paula's already had to ask me to turn the volume down because when I start to rant, my voice and the magnitude that I project.
You get the passion coming.
You call
Let the passion come out.
You call it passion. Other people call it getting rabid. But anyway, I want to get on to the topic of today. And again, a lot of this was preliminaries. We're not going to be dancing through each week because as these hour-long shows every Saturday at 7 p.m. on Mountain Time, and what is it, 9 p.m. your time, Paula, Eastern Time?
Yes, and 2 a.m. GMT on awakeradio.co.uk.
Okay. And
Don't miss us. Don't miss us. We'll be here live.
But it is, again, the Liberty Beacon Rant. I am Roger Landry, and my co-host is Paula Manners. And the topic this evening is going to be something that when I first say it, most people tend to draw back a little bit because they don't really understand what I mean by it. And what I mean by it is, well, you're going to have to see as we start to discuss it, okay?
Okay.
But the topic is, and I'll give you the title. It's Welcome to the Moral Damning of America. And again,
good title.
But most people, they'll shy back away from that a little bit, and they'll go, well, what do you mean the moral damning? So we're going to go over some points, and we have to understand that the United States is 330 million people in a world of, 7.5 billion people. So we are not even a really significant portion
not at all.
Of this world. So when we say the moral damning of America, most people immediately think that that's somebody in America talking bad things about America. This isn't what we're discussing. So point one is, how does the rest of the world see us? Okay? Now, let's face some facts, all right? We as Americans, after more than a decade, got to remember the original Gulf War started in way back when. But we have been in constant war, continuous war, for over a decade, for almost 12 years, in 2001. All right? Now, what that sets up is an entire generation. Okay, but first off, let's preface that a little bit. Okay, we've been at war for more than a decade of armed conflict and propaganda. All right, we have
Okay.
become so desensitized to the concept of perpetual war and mass killing that we actually, or a good portion of this population, is starting to believe that this is the way it's supposed to be. Now, people like me, I'm 58 years old. I was born in 1954, okay? That's after the Korean War and before the Vietnam War. And then between the Vietnam War and the beginning of the issues in the Gulf was another long stretch where there was no warfare. But how many people since the original Gulf War, and then what started up in 2001, okay, and ran all and is continuing to go on today, what we have is almost continuous warfare for the life of many of the kids that are just now coming into adulthood. That's all they've known on the news. That's all they've known in the newspapers. That's all they've known. We have been at war for a good fraction of their entire lives. So the thing of it is, to them, it's normal. They've been so desensitized to it, if they were ever sensitive to it at all.
That's so true.
But let's take that a step further. Meanwhile, while this is going on here in this country, because we don't see the killing every day, we don't experience it, we don't hear the bombs dropping, we don't, excuse me, we don't run into shelter every time we see a plane fly over because there's a missile that might be firing at us. Every time we see a drone, which there's a lot of them flying in the American skies today, but as of yet, none of them are armed. We don't duck and run because, of a drone attack. Every time we see a Humvee come down the street, if we're not doing anything wrong, we just keep walking. But if you live in Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya or anywhere else, that strikes terror into your heart. So we don't see this. We're not sensitive to these facts. But meanwhile, an entire region of the world, the entire Middle Eastern region and Northern Africa, suffers us, meaning the military prowess of the United States of America and some, but the vast majority of it is U.S., and some of its allies, especially through NATO, suffers us on a daily basis. To them,
Sickening. Oh.
To them, the bombs are normal. To them, the high altitude bombing is normal. The drone attacks are normal. The armed soldiers and the Humvees and the tanks rolling down the streets are normal. We have no concept of that. So we are, again, desensitized to this, okay? But what we have to understand is this was told to us that it was being done to protect our freedoms and our liberties, okay? This has all been spurred on by the elitist endeavors and our government's belief that Americans have the right and indeed the duty to make the world over in our own image. What the hell gives us the right?
Absolutely.
And we'll get into that a little further. I apologize, but you're right. You're absolutely right, Paula. It's absolutely reality. Okay? We are making the world over in our own image, or attempting to, and as we'll get into later, failing at it. We are now at the point where almost an entire generation of Americans have been raised to think this is the norm. They think nothing of it. They ignore it. But let me tell you something. This is a very dangerous concept. Because let's hearken back to just before World War II, when Nazi Germany was attacking Austria, when Nazi Germany was attacking Poland, when Nazi Germany was attacking France, and nobody was really attacking Nazi Germany at the time. So what did it do to the German people? As they steamrolled through one country after another with their military might, putting down any rebellion and any resistance. Gee, does that sound familiar to anybody? Aren't we doing that right through the Middle East at this point in time? It desensitized the entire German population. They got to think of that as the norm. That's the way things are supposed to be. Sieg Heil, ain't we great? They hadn't tasted defeat. This is where the danger comes in. When you have an entire generation who believes that this is normal, it's history repeating itself, and we again, not all of us, but a majority in this country are too stupid to learn from history. Those who do not study and learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Well, check it out. It's being repeated. Anybody who can't draw the parallels has never done any studying on World War II and pre-World War II history. All right, these wars are not being fought, as I said, for freedom. Because let's dissect that. In fact, we were never in jeopardy from our self-proclaimed or our derived enemies. They weren't over here dropping bombs. Okay, 9/11 is what precipitated the biggest military drive in the history of this country that's been going on for 12, almost 13 years. But yet there are a lot of people out there, a lot of proof, 1,500 architects and engineers who all can state unequivocally it was not 19 Arabs with box cutters and airplanes that did this. So we were never in danger from the Middle East, but yet we have waged war on them for over a decade and killed, I think the count is close to, if not exceeding, 3 million people at this point. Now we
Oh my
associate
God!
those,
Think of that.
Paula, we associate those type of numbers with Pol Pot, with Mao, with Stalin, with Nazi Germany's Hitler. Okay, they killed millions of people, and we learned about that in history going to school. These were tyrants. How could they ever get away with that? We're responsible for now. The U.S. government has stated. Let's take one small fraction of that. Okay. Drone attacks. There have been many thousands of people killed in drone attacks, but through the government's own statistics, 98% of those people killed were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and only 2% of them were the intended targets. So 98 out of 100 deaths were innocents. Stop and think about that. Now let's put into perspective the fact that we killed, or we are responsible for the deaths. Our military is, our government is, and by the fact that we, the people, are supposed to be the government and have not controlled our government, we by default are also responsible, at least on some level, for the death of 3 million people. Now, that's collateral damage. That is a term that the government has made up to avoid having to say, we've killed, we've slaughtered, we've maimed 3 million women, children, and innocent people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, a lot of people are going to say, and I'll see comments about this tomorrow, they're going to say to me, well, not everything was drone attacks. Okay, let me ask you a question. When you carpet bomb a city like Baghdad, do you tell those tens of thousands of bombs? It's called carpet bombing or saturation bombing for a reason. You saturate an entire area with bombs. Do those bombs each know that in this house lives a woman and 3 kids and has never done anything to screw with your liberties in this country? Hell no. But they're dead. Carpet bombing probably is one of the biggest causes of collateral damage in history. So the vast majority of the 3 million people we have killed were innocents. Okay? So we have never seen this in this country. We have never been in jeopardy of an invasion. Name me one country that if left alone, if we didn't bother them ever, would dare to invade or attack the United States by virtue of the tens of thousands of nuclear bombs and weapons and missiles we have alone. It would be suicide. Nobody would do it. So we have never been in danger, but yet, okay, in fact, our freedom was never in jeopardy. but from self-proclaimed and derived enemies. We invented these enemies. These wars are not being fought for ideology. They're not being fought for religion. Let's get right to the salt of it here. We can see this in our own country because every culture on the face of the earth coexists peacefully somewhere in the United States. These wars are being fought for the advancement of an elitist agenda bent on the total domination of the global community. Or, and I'm going to say this, and somebody's going to think conspiracy theorists, which is why most of us don't say this very much anymore. We say it the way I just said it, okay? Total domination of the global community, or the New World Order. Their motives encompassing money, resources, or just plain power. It has nothing to do with our security. It has nothing to do with our safety. We were never in jeopardy. I'm going to take a breath, Paula. Would you like to say anything?
I would like to say, wow, about the carpet bombing and how you started off with, what do people think of us? And I think we should, I'm sorry. When is it going to end?
I love my country, Paula. I'm not ashamed of my country. I am ashamed of what this elitist agenda and the corporatist oligarchy that have taken control of our quote-unquote government. Because for anybody out there that calls them our government, you don't know your history very well. The government in the United States does not live in Washington, D.C. The government in this United States lives in Schenectady, lives in Miami, lives in Lower Splabovia, Colorado, lives in San Diego. The government of this country is we the people. They are our servants, our representatives. That's all they are. And we have failed to hold them accountable. So what is being
big way?
Yes. What is being perpetrated in our names, okay, is absolute tyranny. We're in the
We are terrorists. We are over there.
Who is the terrorist? Oh, I've seen that so many times, and I always answer it with the same answer, okay? Look in the mirror. And if you deny that, then step up and use your voice and say something. There's only about 8 or 9% of us, by some polls, who are actually talking in this country. A critical mass is going to be closer to 20%. With 330 million people, if we had 66 million people sharing a unified voice saying this is broken, we're tired, we're the boss, and we're taking back control, there is no military, as Ron Paul would say, there is no military or no government that can stop us. Okay? I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about just standing up in peaceful protest and saying, that's enough, you're done. 66 million of us is only 20%. I would say that there are at least 25 to 30% of this country that is awake and aware to what is going on. I mentioned this in the last show I did with you, Paula.
Yeah.
Since Obama took office, 64 million additional firearms have been purchased. Now that tells me right there that you've got your 20%. Okay? They're not out speaking. They're in the stealth mode. All right? They're in the stealth mode, but they
have reacted and in a big way.
So, let's get on with this rant here, okay? These wars are being fought for an elitist agenda. Okay? Now, we as a nation started this about 60 plus years ago. Okay? And everybody back that hasn't done any serious historical researching is going to be scratching their head going, how do you figure that? And in the last 60 years, we managed to turn a large portion of the population of the globe into haters against we the people. The quote-unquote castle on the hill, the Camelot, the place everybody wanted to immigrate to, has turned into the bully on the block, the 800-pound gorilla, the old USSR. Remember, Anybody in the audience who's over 40 years old remembers the USSR, how they were our mortal enemy, and how every time they went in somewhere, we went in to counteract them because they were imperialists, they were warmongers, they were bullies. Well, they have long since retreated into the confines of their country, and we have taken up where they left off in a big way. Okay? Have you even stopped to think? Now, let's put this into perspective. Okay? The terrorist situation. Have you even or ever stopped to consider that if we were not in their lands, killing them and their children by the millions, they would not be wanting to kill us? Think about that. I mean, really think about that concept for 1 second, or maybe 10 seconds. Before this country took on the imperialistic self-proclaimed role of the conscience of the world, based on this elitist agenda, there was no widespread global terrorist issue. It didn't exist. But you know when it started? Any guesses? And no, I'm not asking you, Paul. I want everybody to think for a second.
I was gonna say as soon as that false flag hit.
Well, it started long before that, but just before we get to that, again, I'm stating there was no widespread global issue. The United States had no terrorist issue. As a matter of fact, we were admired for our freedoms and liberties, not hated, as the constant bombardment of MSM propaganda is trying to convince us solely for the purpose of justifying and perpetuating these actions. They constantly tell us that in order to be safe, and of course what they are is mouthpieces of the government, because this is the government perpetrating these ideas and ideals, we need to give up our freedoms and our liberties so that we can be safer. How do we give up our freedoms and liberties? They let us listen into our calls. They restrict our freedoms. They restrict our internet access. Everything we do is monitored. We give up our civil liberties in the name of protection. That's a bunch of bull crap. But now, when did this all start? All right, let's go back to the beginning, okay? Starting with our imperialistic intervention into Iran in the 1950s, where we went in and helped defeat a locally installed government and installed instead the Shah of Iran, who was a puppet for the Western governments, especially the United States and the oligarchs, who even at that time were starting to rule this country. I don't say govern, I say rule. Because governed gives people the indication that more than one person or a massive amount of input is available to what goes on in that country. That's not true here. We are ruled by an oligarchy, a very few people who control very many. Okay? And ever since we went into Iran, okay, we have tried to force our version of the world as it should be, our thoughts, down the throats of every country we disagree with on either moral or political issues. We as a moral nation, bullshit, have ignored their sovereignty. We've ignored their sovereignty and their right for self-determination. Something we the people in this country supposedly cherish so very much. We cherish our self-determination. But yet we willingly, and we, as any bully will do, march across the Middle East, taking their self-determination away one nation right after the other. We take their sovereignty away one nation right after the other. And then we have raped entire nations, societies, for their national treasure, such as oil, lithium, opium, and other natural resources that they have. And we've sold it all off to corporatists and left nothing for the local populations. Any nation we have entered, when we entered Libya, they had the highest standard of living in that part of northern Africa. They were a modern country. You got free housing. The government would pay a huge portion of any house if you were married. They'd buy you a house. You could go to college for 4 years free, paid for by the government. You know? And if you didn't want to go to a Libyan school, they would pay for you to come to the United States and go to school. They'd pay the entire ticket. Okay? They shared revenue from their oil with the population. They had a very modern, very well-to-do middle class, rivaling the United States middle class at the time, society. I dare you to go into Tripoli today or any large Libyan city. They live like it's the Stone Age. We bombed them. We bombed their infrastructure and all of their modern conveniences back into the Stone Age. They are living from hand to mouth. A lot of them are hungry. Massive amounts are homeless. And yes, we did that. Okay? Go into Iraq. You'll find the same thing. Go into Afghanistan. You'll find the same thing. We're about to set up a no-fly zone in Syria. Right up the no-fly zone comes the bombing. Okay? We're going to do that to Syria. We're at war in Mali. We are drone attacking the hell out of Pakistan. We're not even at war with Pakistan. And I could go on. So we have taken nations that were well-to-do. Iraq, under Gaddafi, and I'm not saying Gaddafi was a nice guy, had the highest standard of living in the Middle East at the time. Their middle class was the largest in that part of the world. And we bombed them back to the Stone Age. So we have raped these nations for their national treasure. We have sought to instill leaders friendly to us but contrary to their mindset. An Islamic nation does not want somebody who is a capitalist running their country. But we don't care. We don't care that that's what the vast majority of that country wants. They should be democratic. They should have a republic. Well, what is a republic? Okay? The Soviet Union was a republic. Communist China is a republic. The United States is a republic. We're a constitutional republic, but we're still a republic. So the term republic is so broadly abused and misused, it's ridiculous. But yet we would enforce on them our form of government, even though it is not what they want. Okay? Now, what comes out of this? All right? We are personally responsible for generations of self-proclaimed freedom fighters bent on the expulsion of satanic invaders from their land. And we have perpetuated this for decades, especially the last 13 years, this feeling of hatred and determination to see this goal accomplished. Why are there so many terrorists in the world today? I have to explain something to you. If you fly over my house and you with a drone and you send a missile down because the guy living in the house next door might be a terrorist, and that missile misses by 10 feet and hits my house and destroys my entire family, except me, you've just made a terrorist. You've just made an enemy. Till the day I die, I will do everything I can to get even. Now let's put this into perspective. We have killed 3 million people, of which 95 to 98% of them are collateral damage. How many terrorists do you think we have manufactured? That was an intentional pause. Let it sink in. The reason for the vast majority of terrorism in the world today, hell-bent against the United States and its allies, is because of what we've freaking done. And I'll take a pause here, Paula. You can talk.
I love how that, you just had me at the edge of my seat, and then you said the intentional
we're not
pause,
done.
and that just, oh my gosh,
We're going to come to a crescendo. We're just not there yet. We've got about 15 minutes left. And what are your reactions so far? What do you think of my rant at this point?
Every bit of it spot on. We have to be the most hated nation of terrorists in the world.
Now, we don't think of ourselves as terrorists, and I won't call us terrorists, okay? I really won't, because
Yeah, because
we
if it
keep,
was up to me, we'd already be out of there.
if it was up to you, if it was up to Ron Paul, it was up to every one of his supporters, all the libertarians in this country, all of the constitutionalists in this country, a big chunk of the liberals, believe it or not. Um, if it was up to a majority of the people in this country who could find enough balls to stand up and say it, we wouldn't be there. It is not the government, which is, in fact, as I have explained, we the people, and we need to stand back up and claim that, I don't want to say right, that responsibility. Because according to our Constitution, we are the government. So when you say the government has, no, it's not the government who has. It is the corrupt and corporatist representatives we have sent to Washington who indeed don't represent us. And we know this from all of the tyrannical bills that are going through Congress, one after another after another. And every time we see one, we rant and we rant and we rant about it. How the hell did it ever get through? Did my representative vote for that? Did my senator vote for that? But how many of you out there go and check their voting records? Why is it that 86+% of all of these people got reelected this year or at the end of last year? Why? How many of you have actually bothered to check their voting records? You will scream about the tyranny, but you will reelect the tyrants. Why don't you just pull a gun out and shoot yourself in the foot? You're accomplishing the same thing. You're putting the tyrants back into position to commit more tyranny. I have a slogan that I've used 1,000 times. I'm going to use it again. 2014, time to throw out the trash. I will start a huge drive, probably at the end of the summer, or probably close to the end of the summer, to get each and every person out there who will listen to anything liberty-minded. And that will be one of my rants, the sole subject of one of my rants, to go and look at the record of your representative and your senator. And if it does not, if it doesn't match what you believe in your heart, we as a nation should be perpetrating. If it doesn't match in your heart what we the people think, then throw out the trash. 2014, time to throw out the trash. All right? Please answer me one question. Okay? And this is where we start to get to the crescendo here. I've explained to you a lot of different things, and I can back everything. I will never say anything I can't back up with facts and statistics. If you think anything I say on any one of these rants is not correct, or is overblown or overstated, please send me a Facebook message. And I will be glad to match you up with the documentation backing up everything I state. But
I'd say something too, but I hadn't found anything yet, so.
my question, after all that I've said, is what would you do, each and every one of you out there, if this was happening in America? In your state, in your county, in your town, hell, to your family. What if bombs were dropping on you? What if you couldn't go outside after the sun went down because of military curfew by a nation that was occupying you? What if you were shot in the street for going out? What if you had an emergency and had to leave your house and they didn't care? And they couldn't understand your language, so they shot you anyway. This happens on a daily basis. These countries, these poor people are used to this. This is how they are conditioned to live at this point. No human being should have to be forced to live this way. Especially when they never did threaten anything in this nation. Especially not our rights and freedoms. But what would you be doing if this was happening here in America? Think about that. Wouldn't you be reacting in the identical fashion they are? Wouldn't you be angry? Wouldn't hatred be boiling in you? Wouldn't you want revenge? Wouldn't you say, if it's the last thing I do, if it's the last breath I take, I'm going to get even? Hell with that, I'm going to get ahead? Each and every one of you listening to this are listening to a show like this for a reason, because you think at least somewhat along these lines. And you know damn right well that's exactly the way you'd be reacting. I know I would. Put it into perspective. It's not happening in America. Okay? And if you say to me, you know what, this can't happen in America, at that point, I'm going to look you right in the eyes and say, you've just made my point. It can't happen here. Because we are the bullies. We are the perpetrators. We are, in fact, the nation with the largest, most powerful military force ever seen on the face of this planet. We have an awesome military capability. And we have some capabilities the government and the military won't even tell us about. But I can tell you, they're a hell of a lot more deadly than drones. And have they been used on occasion? Yes, they have. But again, I risk being called a conspiracy theorist if I bring up some of these methods, but a lot of you are aware of them. That's the topic for another show. So again, if you tell me this can't, but this can't happen in America, I'm going to tell you you've just made my point. Now, do me a favor. The name of this show was Welcome to the Moral Damning of America. I'm going to ask you to please wake up. Consider everything we have discussed. Challenge the facts. Challenge the comments I've made, but please wake up, because the alarm clock is screaming and you're about to be late for the moral damning of America. Intentional pause. All right, Paula, what do you think?
Wow. I would clap, but it sounds awful on the mic. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Most of us here, too, are probably, most listening have been labeled a conspiracy theorist. We are aware of most of the things you said, if not all of them, each and every one. And I believe the recording to this will be shared to people by the awake.
Also, for anybody who is interested, and it might be a day or two before I can start, and I will pass the link to this show out to everybody who is associated. And we have a lot of pages and groups and websites that are also associated with the Liberty Beacon Project. They're not Liberty Beacon sites, but they are associated with us in a arm-linking arm type partnership. We all share the same ideas and ideals. But if you go to thelibertybeacon.com, into the commentary section, you will find, guess what? You will find a commentary written by myself called The Moral Damning of America. And I wrote that, and it has almost everything I've said in this rant. And a lot of these rants will be based on commentaries that I have written, simply because these are my passionate ideas. These are the things that really get to me. So again, it's called The Moral Damning of America. It's on thelibertybeacon.com, and it is in the commentary section. So just type in, when you go into commentary, you'll find a search box over on the right-hand side, right above the donate button. Type in The Moral Damning of America, hit go, and it'll take you right to this. But as Paula said, this show will go out to everybody and anybody who wishes to listen to it. The article or the commentary is also another means you can share these thoughts with your friends or people you feel will understand the concepts we put out today. As you can see, when I'm not talking about politics or imperialism or oligarchs or corporatism, or tyranny. Um, my voice is nowhere near as loud. And so it's probably a very good thing you asked me to lower my mic volume before we started here.
Oh, I tell you, it's been great. It's always really good to talk to you. You have these, you just have an amazing way of putting things, and it's a big treat to join you here and get to be here firsthand with you, Roger.
Well, I always enjoy your company as well, Paula, and it's for a different reason. It's because I am the emotional person. I am the person who trips off the line. I am the person who my voice actually cracks when I get really emotional. I'm sure you heard it a couple of times. I get that high pitched squeal when I start to say something, and my voice settles into a rhythm.
Yeah.
Whereas you have this calm, collected retort that always tends to anchor me in reality. So I really appreciate your presence here. And
Oh, thank you.
this was the explicit reason why I asked you to be a part of this show. It's the counterbalance for my emotional outbursts. I'll tell you, I used to be a fan of this gentleman, Rush Limbaugh. I am not anymore because that was when about 2.5 years ago when I was one of the biggest sheeple. I was a Fox News junkie, and Rush Limbaugh. I listened to them every day, all the time, literally all the time. And but the one thing that I did like about him was his method of delivery. And you could tell when he was really trying to nail an idea home because his voice rose up and it got crass, and you could hear the edge on his voice, and the level went up 200 dB, and he literally dared you with his voice to find anything wrong with what he was saying.
Oh, yeah, he
Now,
does.
he has a great way of delivery. I just wish that his message wasn't so convoluted. And I do realize today that he is about as neocon as you can get. But there was a time when I guess I could have been classified as a typical neocon. A Republican, neocon, Fox News watching junkie.
Gosh, I can't even picture it. It's just not right. It don't go with Roger Landry.
Well, I have a very good friend in Texas to give a lot of credit to that for because he gave me the proverbial bitch slap to awaken this one day, and my biggest problem was that I was totally unprepared for it, and I was in shock for about a week. I was in denial because some of the things he showed me, I spent hours, Paula, trying to disprove the proof he gave me. And guess what? I couldn't do it. And I
That's
consider myself to be at least semi-intelligent. So when you eliminate everything that it can't possibly be, the only thing that's left is what it is. So I eliminated all of the things, or I tried to eliminate all of the things that by any means possible that he showed me and couldn't do it. So the only thing that was left was they had to be factual. And since then, I have come on like gangbusters. And my research level is I probably do 4 to 5 hours of research every single day, and this has been for 2.5 years straight. So I've had a lot of time to catch up. And whereas a lot of people have learned the things they've learned over a lifetime, but they've learned a little bit each day by being exposed to something, talking to a buddy in a bar, or reading an article in the newspaper. So whereas they might be exposed to things that accumulate in their brain over 10 to 15 years, I've had to absorb all of this and much more in a period of about 2.5 years. And if you don't think that I don't go to bed with a headache some nights, oh!
I'm sure you do.
All right, so I want to tell everybody that we very much appreciate you listening. Uh, the shows will become a little bit more regulated as we go along. Not so much introduction to the actual project. If there's any new news about the Liberty Beacon project, we will make you aware of it as the shows start. But the shows will be about a specific topic each week, and we will basically stick to that topic. And it will be an hour long, and Paula will be there as my anchor to make sure I don't fly off somewhere. But thank you very, very much, Paula, for being with me this evening.
Oh, it was awesome. Can't wait for next week. This was amazing.
And I want to thank everybody who listens to the show. And please, if you find any merit in it at all, share it. And if you would like, again, the actual article that I wrote probably, I don't know, months ago. It was written on May 15th, a little over a month ago. That can be found on the libertybeacon.com in the commentary section with the title, The Moral Damning of America. And thank you very much, and I wish you all a very pleasant Saturday evening and a much more pleasant Sunday.
That was Roger Landry with the Liberty Beacon Rant. Thank you so much for coming.
You're listening to Awake Radio. Straight talk for the awake and aware.